before diplomacy, before policy, before resolutions, there were human beings, not slaves. Human beings.
The Minister of Culture, Gender, Entertainment and Sport, the Honourable Olivia Babsy-Grange, led a Jamaican delegation to a conference in Ghana to advance Africa's push for reparatory justice. This after the adoption of the landmark United Nations resolution declaring the trafficking of enslaved Africans as the gravest crime against humanity. Heads of state and governments, ministers, civil society representatives, historians, researchers and legal experts representing more than 80 countries were in attendance. Join us on Agenda Jamaica as we highlight the event. Pleasant viewing.
Not to divide, but to claim the truth. We got to remember. Every stolen life, every stolen youth. From dungeon to chamber, the second was closed. The healing began where the war and the rose. We gather to remember.
It is with profound honor and great pleasure that I welcome you all on behalf of His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, President of the Republic of Ghana, an African Union champion on reparatory justice, to Accra for this defining high-level Next Steps conference on reparatory justice.
The conference comes nearly 3 months after the United General Assembly voted to adopt a proposal by Ghana on behalf of African Union member states. A total of 123 states voted in favor of the proposal, while 3, the US, Israel and Argentina, voted against it, and 52, including the United Kingdom and all European Union members, abstained.
Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I bring warm greetings from the Most Honorable Andrew Holness, Prime Minister of Jamaica, who has given me the honor of representing him here today. He deeply regrets his inability to join this historic gathering in person, occasioned by his engagement with the Jamaican diaspora at our Global Diaspora Conference. It is a powerful symmetry that, as Africa and her diaspora meet here in Accra, Jamaica has also been in dialogue with her own diaspora in the light of the torch she has carried in this struggle from very early. So we are now standing in both spaces at once. Thank you for the profound privilege of returning home to African soil to pursue the just cause of reparatory justice in the land of our forebears. We hail the bold and visionary leadership that, together with the support of 123 countries, carried this landmark resolution into the hallowed halls of the United Nations, naming and condemning the gravest crimes against humanity, the transatlantic trafficking of enslaved Africans and racialized chattel enslavement. We also place on record our deep appreciation for the Honorable Minister Ablakwa, whose principled militancy and strategic clarity have helped to carry this message across the world. Jamaica further acknowledges with gratitude the members of the Ghana Armed Forces Engineering Corps, whom were deployed to support relief and recovery efforts in Jamaica in the aftermath of the most devastating hurricane ever to impact the Caribbean. That gesture underscored the strong bond between our nations and the living reality that the Black Star continues to shine as Africans everywhere unite in solidarity and shared purpose. It is also a powerful reminder of the vision of our own national hero, Marcus Messiah Garvey, whose Black Star line helped to inspire Ghana's Black Star and the very idea of Africa and her diaspora moving together as one. So we meet here today not as strangers, but as family, separated by history and reunited by destiny. We come from different nations and experiences, yet we are bound by one story and by a crime scene that began on this continent centuries ago and expanded across the Atlantic. The capture, trafficking, chattelization, and enslavement of African peoples and people of African descent constituted the greatest crime against humanity. Systems were deliberately constructed to extract wealth from African bodies and from the Caribbean and from the Americas to which we were taken, to suppress African identity and to secure the permanent subjugation of African peoples. But our ancestors survived. They resisted, they endured, created, innovated, and triumphed. That horror emerged a new kind of African soldier, armed not with chains, but with memory, dignity, and an unshakable claim to justice. So we are the children of those who would not bow, and we stand here as their living petition to the world. So, as Marley said, old pirates, yes, they robbed and sold us to the merchant ship. They took us to the bottomless pit, but our hand was made strong by the hand of the Almighty. We're forward in this generation, triumphantly. And we now Sankofa to sing the redemption song, songs of freedom, songs of justice. This gathering must therefore be understood as part of a larger journey of reunification. It is not a single event. It is one important step among many as African people and people of African descent come together to shape our common future and advance our common cause.
This is our moment. Victory is on the horizon. Our ancestors and posterity will be proud of our collective resolve. It is remarkable that exactly to this day, on the 18th of June, 1824, our ancestors chalked their first history in the British Parliament when the Parliament was compelled to pass the Consolidated Slave Trade Act, which formally declared slavery illegal. It is also fortuitous that it is this same week, the 19th of June, in 1864, that the last batch of slaves were declared free in the United States of America. So we have won many battles. We won the battle against slavery. We won the battle against colonialism. We won the battle against apartheid. And we are confident that we shall win the battle against reparatory injustice. We shall win that battle.
The history of enslavement, the slave trade, and their enduring legacies are not merely matters of the past. They continue to shape societies across the world and compel us to reflect on how historical injustice can be acknowledged and addressed in the present. For more than 8 decades, UNESCO has worked with member states to deepen understanding of this history and its consequences. Since the founding in 1945, the organization has supported efforts to document, study, and transmit knowledge about slavery and enslavement, recognizing that historical truth is an essential foundation for justice, dignity, and reconciliation. A major milestone on this work was the launch of the General History of Africa program in 1964. Through this initiative, UNESCO has supported Africa in reclaiming and writing its own history, correcting long-standing distortions and prejudice. Today, UNESCO continues to assist member states in integrating the general history of Africa into education systems in Africa and beyond, to enable learners to engage critically with histories of enslavement and their legacies, recognizing education as an essential foundation for dignity, inclusion, and lasting peace.
I greet you in the divine name of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. I greet you on behalf of the people of Jamaica and the diaspora. Blessings. I am one of the children of the transatlantic slave trade. I've done research to find out the truth. And when I did a DNA test, I found out that I am 46% Ghanaian. Yeah. So let the truth be told. Honorable Mahama, I salute you. Thank you. Last year, 2025, I was on tour, and the leader of the country of Antigua and Barbuda wrote a song called Reparations. Shortly after, in 2026, the Honorable boldly went before the United Nations and said, let's have a conversation. And I found out that we have something in common. I am not a politician, but I am a music. And we say, music is the rod and we are Moses. Most Honorable Samuel, thank you again. Mia Matley, it's a joy to see you in Africa. Thank you for always doing what you do for the Caribbean. And most Honorable Miss Babsy Grange, wherever you are, thank you for always championing Jamaica. So I will sing this song for the people. Let's hear. Listen to the words. We shall be all right, yeah, yeah. Don't you cry, people, don't you cry, 'cause Jah shall wash away all the tears from my eyes. In times when the storms and the tides are raging high, yeah, we know we shall win, yeah, we know we'll survive, yeah. Jah shall wash away all the tears. Ooh.
It is significant that we are here in Ghana, one of the countries that bears witness to one of humanity's darkest chapter. In Ghana, the history of transatlantic slave trade is not confined to books and archives. It lives in the forts and castles that still stand as silent reminder of the suffering endured by millions of African men, women, and children. One can only imagine the fear, uncertainty, and heartbroken of those who passed through the doors of no return as they took their final steps on African soil, not knowing they were going, not knowing if they would ever see their families again. Many did not even know that generations later, their descendants will be searching for pieces of their identity, language, and heritage that were taken away from me. As it could be expected, even as they were carried away from Africa, Africa never left them. Across generations and across oceans, they carried fragments of our history, our resilience, our spirit, and of our humanity. Today, we honor those survived, those who resisted, and those whose descendants still seek justice and dignity. It is therefore befitting that we meet here in Ghana, a nation that reminds us not only of their pain, of our shared past, but also of the resilience of the African people and the enduring bonds between the continent and its diaspora. Ghana occupies a special place in Africa's history as the first sub-Sahara African country to attain independence. It understood early that its own freedom would remain incomplete until the rest of the continent was free. Under the leadership of Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, Ghana became a beacon for African liberation and unity. Today, as the continent advances the cause for restorative justice, Ghana is once again demonstrating leadership by convening and guiding this important global conversation. Namibia stands here ready to join others and work together in this journey. To adopt the adoption of the United Nations Resolution A/Res Resolution 80/250 is an important historical landmark, yet is not a destination. It is the beginning of a journey towards truth, acknowledgement, healing, and justice for millions of Africans and people of African descent whose lives were forever changed by slavery, colonialism, and historical injustice.
We've come to Accra to declare that the age of accountability has finally reached the gravest crime in humanity. We have come to Accra to enter through the door so that we can join hands and ensure that we together can be direct in our requests and in our actions, to defend memory without retreat, to turn recognition into repair, and yes, to build an Africa-Caribbean future with the power to protect our future generations. Let me thank Ghana profoundly on behalf of the Caribbean community to allow us to be here, the government and people of Ghana, coming after your historic resolution in the United Nations earlier this year. We in Caricom have been fighting now for virtually a decade on this issue of reparations. And we believe that this effort to bring all of our global partners here together in Accra will allow for this too to be regarded as a historic moment. I have said that our attempt to be able to speak in the issue of accountability is critical for us. We live in a world today where people call out people for everything, for misogyny, for sexual assault, for all kinds of behavior. But yet we have not found the moral courage to state unanimously across humanity that this grave crime against humanity that persisted for centuries ought to be declared so by all. That others choose to remain silent is a reflection of them, not of us. We have equally come to say that there should be no retreat on repair. The language used from this platform this morning is not one of aggression, is not one of violence, but it is one of the necessity for healing for humanity.
Today, Accra becomes the meeting place of history, conscience, and responsibility. We gather not merely to discuss the past, but to determine how humanity responds to one of the greatest crimes ever committed against the people We gather because history has summoned us to complete a conversation that began centuries ago and remains unfinished. I wish to warmly welcome all participants who have traveled from around the world to take part in this conference. Your presence here reflects a shared recognition that the issues before us transcend national boundaries and speak instead to our common humanity, our shared history, and our collective responsibility to future generations. On 25th September 2025, last year, I stood before the United Nations General Assembly and announced Ghana's intention to introduce a resolution declaring the traffic of enslaved Africans as the gravest crime against humanity. At that time, it was a bold proposition. It was ambitious, necessary, but uncertain in its outcome. It was rooted in our conviction that humanity must confront this history with greater honesty and clarity, not merely because of what happened centuries ago, but because of the enduring consequences that continue to shape societies and communities across the world, even today. There was no certainty that such a proposition would command broad international support. And yet, exactly 6 months later, on 25th of March 2026, the United Nations General Assembly addressed that proposition, and by a decisive majority, member states adopted Resolution A/RES 80/250, marking a historic step in the international community's acknowledgement of the scale, brutality, and enduring consequences of the trafficking of enslaved Africans and of racialized chattel enslavement. But before proceeding further, I wish to express my profound appreciation to all the 123 member states that supported the resolution. As well as to the many institutions, scholars, civil society organizations, faith leaders, activists, and advocates whose dedication over many years made its adoption possible. Their efforts contributed significantly to creating the conditions for a more honest and constructive global conversation. For Ghana, this effort is not just an exercise in diplomacy. It is a moral obligation that is rooted in our history, our identity, and our responsibility as a nation whose shores hold both the tragedy of departure and the hope of return. We do not seek to reopen old wounds, we seek to heal those wounds. We do not seek division, we seek justice and understanding and reconciliation grounded in the truth. And at the same time, the significance of this conference lies not only in the support that made the resolution possible, but also in the willingness of a broader community of nations and institutions to engage in the work that follows. The pursuit of historical justice is not strengthened by narrowing the circle of participation. It is strengthened by expanding it. It is strengthened when those who may approach these issues from different historical, political, or legal perspectives nevertheless choose dialogue over silence and engagement over distance. In that spirit, I urge all participants gathered here today to approach our deliberations with openness, humility, and a shared commitment to advancing human dignity. Distinguished guests, the adoption of the resolution was never intended to mark the end of the journey. It was intended to provide the foundation for a more meaningful process of engagement, reflection, and action. Less than 3 months after its adoption, we're here in Accra to address the question that naturally follows. What are the next steps? We're here because recognition creates responsibility, and because the enduring consequences of this history continue to demand thoughtful, coordinated, and sustained international engagement. It is fitting that we meet in Ghana. A few places in the world bear such vivid physical testimony to this history as our country. From Elmina in the central region and Cape Coast to Asin Manso and Osu, our land holds some of the most visible reminders of a system that uprooted millions of Africans and altered the course of world history. Not too far from where we're gathered today, stands castles, dungeons, and the doors of no return, through which countless Africans pass before disappearing over the horizon. For many, that horizon marked the end of everything they knew. And yet today, the descendants of those journeys have returned, not in chains, but as presidents, as prime ministers, as scholars, as jurists, as activists, as historians and citizens of the world. History has brought us full circle.
This has been another in the series of Agenda Jamaica. I've been your host, Melvin Pennant. Thank you for watching. See you on the next one.
Reparations, justice must come. Africa and the Caribbean is one. Not charity, but exposing them all. Restitution for the labor and the poor. Listen.